Hi, sixth graders. So now we are working on our next set of pages on summarizing informational text. So today we're going to work on, let's look at the page numbers here, page 14 and 15 in our books. And you can see that I have it up here on the screen for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to read aloud this passage. I will read it to you. Then we're going to read the questions. And then you're going to pause the video and reread it again. Because remember, we talked about our first week of doing a 3-read protocol. A 3-read protocol means that we're going to read the first one, and it's just to get a basic idea of what the passage or article is about. The second time, we're going to read for understanding, and the third time, we're going to read for comprehension, specifically to the questions that are being asked of us. So I'm obviously not going to read this passage 3 times with you on this video, but I do expect you to be practicing the 3-read protocol at home. So I'll read this passage out loud to you first, and then you'll need to read it 2 more times after. Okay, so this passage is called From Food Web, from National Geographic article. Food webs connect many different food chains and many different trophic levels. Food webs can support food chains that are long and complicated or very short. For example, grass in a forest clearing produces its own food through photosynthesis. A rabbit eats the grass, a fox eats the rabbit. When the fox dies, decomposers such as worms and mushrooms break down its body, returning it to the soil where it provides nutrients for plants like grass. This short food chain is one part of the forest food web. Another food chain in the same ecosystem might involve completely different organisms. A caterpillar may eat the leaves of a tree in the forest. A bird, such as a sparrow, may eat the caterpillar. A snake may then prey on the sparrow. An eagle, an apex predator, may prey on the snake. A hawk, another apex predator, may prey on the eagle. Yet another bird, a vulture, consumes the body of the dead hawk. Finally, bacteria in the soil decompose the remains. In a desert ecosystem, an autotroph, such as a cactus, produces fruit. Herbivorous insects, such as flies, consume the cactus fruit. Birds, such as the roadrunner, consume these insects. Detritivores, such as termites, eat the roadrunner after it dies. Bacteria and fungi help decompose the remaining bones of the roadrunner. The carbon of the bones enriches the desert soil, helping plants like cactuses develop. So here's some vocabulary words that we just talked about. So apex is the top or the highest. So usually when they talk about apex, we talk about the apex, which would be the canopy of a rainforest, right? It's the top of the food chain in this particular article. An autotroph is a life form that makes its own food. So it talks about right here in the desert ecosystem, the autotroph, such as the cactus, it produces its own fruit. So that is an autotroph because it makes its own food. A detritivore, an animal that feeds on dead plants and animals. So usually in the past when I've taught about this, it would be more about decomposers because decomposers feed on dead animals and plants. And it talks about decomposers as mushrooms, worms. I was thinking of the worms that create flies. I mean, maggots. Yes. So that's what I was thinking about too when I was thinking about decomposers. Okay, so let's see what our book is telling us here on the sides here. It says, I'm going to look for big ideas that have to do with food webs. I'll underline those big ideas when I find them. That will help me determine the article's central idea. Well, if you look up in the very first paragraph, it is underlined. So let's reread this to see, is this a good central idea? It says food webs connect many different food chains and many different trophic levels. Food webs can support food chains that are long and complicated or very short. Do you think that this is a central idea of the article? So does the article talk about food chains? Does it talk about trophic levels? And does it talk about what supports the food chain? So if all three of those questions were answered as a yes, then yes, this is the central idea. Okay. Let's see. The next one says close reading. What forest food chain does paragraph 3 describe? Underline the plants and animals in this chain. Okay, so let's do that right now. Here's paragraph 3. They've labeled it for me. It says this short food chain is one of the forest food web. Another food chain in the same ecosystem might involve completely different organisms. A caterpillar may eat the leaves of a tree in the forest. A bird, such as a sparrow, may eat the caterpillar. A snake may eat on the prey of the sparrow. And an eagle, an apex predator, may prey on the snake. A hawk, another apex predator, so remember apex is the top, so it'd be like the hierarchy of this food chain, may prey on the eagle. Yet another bird, a vulture, consumes the body of the dead hawk, so a vulture would be like a decomposer. Finally, bacteria in the soil decompose the remains. So the vulture would start that process, and then the soil would finish the process. So what should we be underlining here? It says underline the plants and animals in the chain. Okay, so we've got the forest, right? We've got the leaves of the tree. We have the bird. So let's underline those. So we have the forest. We have caterpillar, the leaves of a tree because the caterpillar eats the tree. Then we have the bird, such as a sparrow, and that eats the caterpillar. Then we have the snake, and the snake eats the sparrow. Then you have an eagle that eats the snake. Also, a hawk may prey on the eagle. Oh, that's interesting. And then it says, then the vulture will eat the dead hawk. So I'm going to underline vulture too. Because there's actually a lot of different parts to this chain. And if you were in my class last year when we talked about basically the circle of life, we did actually an activity in virtual learning where you had to put the chain of events together. So we had like the grass, then we had the fox, we had a hawk, an eagle, a snake, and then you had to put them all in the circle. So this is just like a continuation of what we've learned in science last year. Okay, then it says each paragraph gives an example of a food chain in a different ecosystem. And we talked about ecosystems last year. So it says circle the name of each ecosystem. Okay, so let's go to the back to the top here and let's see if we have an ecosystem here. So we've got the forest ecosystem here. I'm just kind of skimming right now. Let's look at the next paragraph. So we're still talking about the forest again. Another food chain in the same ecosystem. So because it says same, it's the same ecosystem. So we're talking about the forest. Let's go to paragraph 4. Oh, here's a different ecosystem. It says right there. This is the desert ecosystem. So I'm going to circle that. There we go. So now we've kind of like dissected our paragraphs. We know this is all about the food chain and the different ecosystems. And we've already identified the central idea because it's underlined. So let's go ahead and read the questions now. Question number 1. Which of the following best states the central idea of the article? So, okay, we're looking for the central idea of the entire article, not just a paragraph. And it gives us a hint on the side. It says, which choice tells the central idea of the article? Okay, well, I feel like that was the same question that we were given on question number 1. So let's read our choices. A, both long and short food chains make up food webs. B, food webs connect different food chains in trophic levels. Food webs consist of many different food chains, the shortest of which involves grass, rabbits, foxes, and decomposers. And D, the food chains that make up food webs stay in balance naturally as long as humans don't interfere. I don't believe it talked anything about humans, right? Did you see anything about humans interfering with that? So I think we could definitely cross off D, and I'm just going to make an X over D because it didn't talk about how humans interfere, so that couldn't be the central idea. So think about, is there another one that we can cross off that we're like, no, this for sure is not it? Well, A says both long and short food chains make up food webs. I feel like that's very general. Where the central idea that we underlined in the first paragraph was a little bit more specific. So I'm going to cross off A. It can't be that one either. So now you're going to choose between B or C and just circle which one you're choosing that answers the question of the best, okay, because that was keyword here, best, states the central idea of the article. Okay, now let's look at number 2. It says, which statement best summarizes the central idea and important details of paragraph 3? Okay, so this one is specifically on paragraph 3. So it says, which choice tells the paragraph's central idea without any opinions? Ooh, that's a good hint, because remember we talked about how summarizing does not include opinions. Let's go ahead and read our answers. I'm going to underline best summarizes because that's what I'm looking for. So a forest food chain that includes leaves, caterpillars, sparrows, snakes, eagles, hawks, vultures, and bacteria is one of the longest in the ecosystem. B, one forest food chain begins with caterpillars eating leaves, then birds, snakes, and larger birds eat each other. Finally, bacteria in the soil decompose the remains. C, a forest food chain starts with trees, leaves, and caterpillars. Birds eat the caterpillars and are eaten by snakes. The chain continues until a vulture eats a disgusting dead thing. Interesting. D, one ecosystem may have many different food chains. One example of a food chain in a forest involves leaves, caterpillars, sparrows, snakes, eagles, hawks, vultures, and bacteria. Did you guys recognize the one that we can for sure cross off because it has an opinion in it? Did you guys see that? Which one it was? Which one had the opinion? It was right here, disgusting dead thing. Okay, in our article, it never talked about it being disgusting. That is an opinion. That's what whoever wrote this feels about the chain. So we could definitely cross this off. This would not be a good summary because it has an opinion in it. So definitely we can X that one out. Is there another one that we were like, that's not going to work for us? So a forest food chain that includes leaves, caterpillars, sparrows, eagles, vultures, and bacteria is one of the longest in the ecosystem. I'm not sure, I don't remember if it said that it was the longest in the ecosystem, so I would definitely have to go back and reread, and that's another reason why we do the 3-read protocol. So I don't think it's A, but I'm not positive because I don't remember it saying anything about the longest in the ecosystem. And then B says one forest food chain begins with caterpillars eating leaves, then birds, snakes, larger birds. Finally, bacteria in the soil decomposes the remains. I'm thinking that it's not A for sure. I'm going to cross that one out. It's probably going to be somewhere between B and D. And then I'm going to make my best educated guess. But if I'm reading it 3 times, then I'll definitely know which one is the answer. And some of you may already see the answer right now. I'm not going to give that to you. You're going to have to go ahead and choose the answer and then upload your answers to Canvas so that I can see what you guys chose. Okay, the last part, number 3, write a brief summary of the article. Include at least 2 details from the text in your story. So they don't give you a lot of space. It doesn't have to be the 1 to 3 paragraphs that I require you to do. So this one, You just want to give a couple sentences where you're going to restate the central idea in your own words, no opinions, okay? We're not copying the text summaries. You do not need to cite evidence that way. You need to put it into your own words. That's why they have you keep practicing this particular question over and over again, because they want you to be putting these on your own words. And a lot of times I'll say paraphrase. Paraphrase means you are rephrasing the sentence in your own words, okay? So include 2 details from the text in your summary. So restate your central idea in your own words, no opinions, and then give 2 more sentences that support that central idea, but make sure you put them in your own words. So you're going to finish this up, then you will submit it through Canvas. So you can take a picture, you can put your answers into the text box, or you can scan it and upload it. Or if you want to do video, you can like hold up your answer so that make sure it's clear and I can see it though. And then it'll be submitted. So I think you guys have a good idea of what the answers are based off the reading, but make sure you read 3 times. Okay. See you later.